if you attack the ideology of Pan-Africanism, those who adhere to the ideology have the right to respond. And I'm speaking as somebody who, obviously, as you can hear by my accent, is not a citizen of America. I was not born and raised in America. I am not ADOS. I am an African, descendant of Africans who were enslaved in the Caribbean, and I live in the United Kingdom. Okay, so I'm not getting involved in this thing to tell ADOS people what to do, how to think, and how to act. I am getting involved as a Pan-Africanist and as an African, a descendant of Africans enslaved in the Caribbean, very concerned about the characterizations of Africans on the continent and from the Caribbean that seem to have pervaded in the ADOS narrative. Yeah, and we're going to come back to addressing that in a second. All right, but that's just a backdrop, yeah, to let you know why we're having this conversation. What I want to begin by doing, though, is getting our panel to kind of just, and I'm going to share some definitions in a sec, but just to give an idea, an interpretation, a definition of what Pan-Africanism is. And I want to shout out before we go there to brother Nat Nair and Stella B. I see you in the building, kings and queens. You know what I'm saying? Love to that. And all my other brothers and sisters, I'll shout you out a little bit later on. Do remember to like the video and share the link. I'm going to say my brother Kevin, aka Mr. K, has said Pan-Africanism is an objective, not an ideology. A quote from brother Obi Egbuna Jr. So we're gonna just with that. Let me anybody can go first and start by defining what Pan-Africanism is.
I'll go. So for me, the reason I became a Pan-Africanist, because I started off really more so as a nationalist, but the more and more I started reading from people like Malcolm X, or just different people, leaders inside of the struggle, is that our struggle is international. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's really what Pan-Africanism is. It's the acknowledgement that the same way that Europeans came together in order to form a global system of white supremacy, mm-hmm. that the only possible way that you can combat this mega force, because it's not just America, it's not just the UK, it's not just France, they work in cohesion. The only way that you can confront this is from a global response from Africans, whether they be on the continent or whether they be in the United States and in the Caribbean, that if we all unite, we would be able to respond to this global system. In addition to that is the acknowledgement that if you look at the resources that we do have inside of our respective countries, particularly those on the continent of Africa, the resources really should put us in a position of power. So we should have the ability to overthrow these powers. We should have the ability to actually act in cohesion. But unfortunately, because we are so fragmented, we have not been able to properly address the system of white supremacy. So that's really what Pan-Africanism is to me. It's the acknowledgement that wherever you go in the world, we're all oppressed people who are of African descent, that the only logical or probable way that we can actually address this system is by having a united front across countries where we're together addressing the system of white supremacy instead of trying to do it separately.
Yes, yes. Give thanks for that. Any of my brothers can go?
Yeah, peace. I'll say that, I refer to myself as a Pan-African nationalist. And I also agree with the brother Obi Egbona's the quote there that Pan-Africanism is an objective, not an ideology, right? So for me, when I think of Pan-Africanism, I think of it as a concept that really means Africans, no matter where we are, across land, across regions, across language, working together in tandem for the purpose of overthrowing white supremacy, right? So for me, that's the Pan-Africanist perspective. But from the nationalist perspective, I see the objective of Pan-Africanism as the establishment of a Pan-African nation on the African continent that is strong enough to protect the interests of African people, no matter where they may exist in the world. Marcus Garvey used to say that a strong man is strong anywhere, yeah. Right? So until Africa is redeemed, no African person anywhere on this planet will be safe or will have refuge under any alienation. So I think that it is incumbent upon us who call ourselves Pan-Africanists or Pan-African nationalists. It's incumbent upon us to work to obtain power for the purpose of achieving a sovereign nation that has the strength and power to protect African people everywhere. I think that in terms of, you mentioned the debate that my sister and I had, my sister, our African Esquire. I forgot to mention during the intro is that we do a, I guess it's a millennial panel. Sister African Esquire, my brother, son of Malcolm, and I, we do a panel where we address issues impacting the African world through a Pan-African lens. And the first time that we got together was really to give a response to Yvette Carnell's video on Pan-Africanism is Dead. So to date, I think we've done about 4 segments. So one of our differences, when you talk about the shades of Pan-Africanism, one of our differences is, for me, myself, I don't say, bringing, creating a nation on the African continent that falls under scientific socialism. Because for me, although I don't promote capitalism, I have a significant critique of capitalism. I also believe that socialism does not go far enough in reframing the economic problems that Africans suffer from. So for that reason, I have a problem with the terminology of socialism. So it's something that I kind of reject. And I think that we need to develop or rescue terms that can capture the economic needs of African people. So.
All right. Robert Abiola?
Yeah, I agree with everything that has already been said. And for me, Pan-Africanism is the pursuit of power for Black people all around the world, because ultimately that is only power that can guarantee our survival. So I think the best uplift plan for every Black person on the world is Pan-Africanism. And it's a way to see Africans as people who can build a powerful nation together, because we have shared history, we have shared culture, and that's very important. And we also have shared blood. I often hear about, it's not about the skin color, it's about that. It's about everything. It's a whole. And we can build this nation, but we also need to build this nation, because the way we have been treated was because at some point in history, we have been weaker than the enemy. So we can try to continue as separated entities and still be weak, while the enemies are getting more numerous and stronger. And we can say, hey, maybe we had some kind of dispute at a moment. You, my neighbor, you, my brother. But right now we need to come together and be stronger against what is coming next, because there are more powerful, more nasty things that are coming next. And we need to be ready for that. And the best response, the best answer is Pan-Africanism. So we can, we need to, and I think we will.
Beautiful, beautiful. Give thanks, brother Abiola. I do believe my good brother Tahaka is with us.
Yes. How you doing?
Greetings, my brother. You know what I'm saying? We're doing the graveyard shift right now, bro.
Trust me. Yeah, I was supposed to get my napping earlier so I could stay up for this, but then
all right, no problem. Just stay as long as you can. I know how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome and meet brother Omawale, sister African Esquire, and brother Abiola. You know what I'm saying? We'll continue those introductions later. But yeah, at the moment we're defining Pan-Africanism, bro. I don't know if you want to make a contribution right now. You want to come back to later on.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I have been listening in. I heard you doing the definition, so I've been trying to sign in for the past 3 minutes, and it takes a little while on my phone. It's Hangouts. But yeah, so bless up to everyone on the panel, bless up to you, Shakaran, bless up to everyone in the watching and all the viewers. I'd like to agree with a lot of what everyone has been saying on the panel in regard to what Pan-Africanism is. I also would agree that in the with the quote about it being objective non-ideology, but I would also say it is an ideology. It represents, I think what Pan-Africanism represents is a connection between independent African thought across the world and showing how it's linked and connected. I think at the basis of Pan-Africanism is the idea that we all have a common history and thus a common destiny. And basically that, you know, regardless of your political ideology within that, in the same way, if you're a conservative within the European system, or you're a socialist within the European system, or a liberal within the European system, at the end of the day, what you want is Europe to progress and to be financially, economically stable and strong. So whether you are a social, liberal, conservative, as an African person, really and truly, the idea is, what is it you're finding to be strong? And yeah, so Pan-Africanism would put emphasis on people of African descent focusing on using whatever their political ideology is to focus, to build up the strengths of Africa. So yeah, we could both be Pan-Africanists and disagree. Like you were saying, I probably adhere a little bit more towards the socialist side of things. You'll have Pan-Africanists who are a lot more nationalist. You have some Pan-Africanists who are maybe far to that sort of, we have to be Afrocentrist. We don't want to even consider anything European. We just want to look at all African stuff. So there's all different strands of Pan-Africanism. Yeah, that's really what I think Pan-Africanism is. It represents an umbrella body term.